Hi everyone, Arian from IgnitePOST here. I'm excited to go over a quick automation with everyone today. And this automation that I'm going to walk through is one of the most common things that we get asked to set up here at IgnitePOST. So essentially what I'm going to walk through is showing you how to use a Google spreadsheet and connect it to IgnitePOST so that every time a new row is added to that spreadsheet, a new handwritten note order automatically gets triggered. So this is super powerful because essentially you can set up a Google Sheet and then simply copy and paste into that sheet and trigger a handwritten card for every single individual row that you add to that spreadsheet. So it's a very powerful automation, and the good news is it's super quick to set it up on IgnitePOST. So let's dive in and I'll show you how to do just that. So to set up an automation like this, the first thing you want to do is create a free IgnitePOST account. So if you haven't done so already, head over to ignitepost.com, click on login, sign up, and create a free account. When you do that, you'll end up here on this screen, which is your IgnitePOST dashboard. The easiest way to set up this automation is actually to use our letter template feature. So at the top here, I'm going to click letter templates, and I'll show you what that is. So essentially what a letter template is it is a specific letter that lives on your IgnitePOST dashboard that you can then trigger from anywhere that you want. So you can trigger it from a Google spreadsheet, you can trigger it from a CRM system, you can trigger it from a marketing automation platform. So let's dive in and I'll show you exactly how to set one up. So I'll click Create Letter Template, and the first thing that it asks me to do is to name it. So let's say this is going to be a letter and I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of people in my list and I want them to write me a review. So I'm going to name this the Review Request Example Template. So this is going to be to reach out and ask for a review. And then if you scroll down here, essentially what we allow you to do is use a nice letter builder and a designer to actually see exactly what your card is going to look like and what your envelope is going to look like. So the first thing it asks me is, what do you want your sender address to be? So this is the return address that's going to be included on the outside of the envelope. So I'm just going to write something quick here. Apartment Street, Apartment 2. Perfect. All right. And now for the message, again, this is just so that you can set up and visually see what the message is going to look like. I'm just going to, as an example, use one of these messages that we already have here. That says, hi, so-and-so, check out some of our recent case studies and testimonial, have a moment, improve your customer experience, grow your business. Let's say, come back and leave us a review. Back and leave a review. Perfect. Okay, so now that we have this, essentially this allows me to see what the message is going to look like. So I'm happy with that. If I want to experiment with some of these different handwriting styles, I definitely can do that. If anyone wants to have us mimic their own handwriting, we can also mimic your own handwriting and recreate that. So I like this font. We're going to stick with this font here, this handwriting style. And then most folks choose to upload their own creative. You can do so just by clicking this orange plus sign and then uploading any image that you want. If you want an exact fit for the front of our 5x7 cards, you can easily download this template and then use your favorite designer to design whatever image you want for the front of the card. For now, I'm just going to use a default thank you, for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to hit create. Okay, so now what we have is we have this review request example template living on IgnitePOST. So what I want to do is now go and set up a Zapier connection so that I can trigger this every time I add a new row to a spreadsheet. So to do that, first I'm going to actually start by showing you the spreadsheet that I have. So this is a demonstration Zapier sheet that I have set up. But essentially what you do is create a new Google Sheet. The information that we need is obviously the information that you would need to send a card through the mail. So I have columns for first name, last name, company, and then obviously the address columns, and then city, state, and zip. So I have my Google Sheet set up already. So now I'm going to show you how to use Zapier to connect the two pieces. So let's start by going and opening Zapier. And I'm just going to go create a new Zap. And this will walk me through the process, which is pretty straightforward to do. So the first thing I always forget to do is to name my Zap. So I'm going to name this, let's see, Google Sheet to IgnitePOST example. And then the first thing obviously I want to do is I want to trigger this when a new row is added to a Google Sheet. So let's start by finding and clicking the Google Sheets trigger. So I set up a trigger for Google Sheet. The event is going to be when a new row is added to the bottom of a spreadsheet. So I'm going to click that as my trigger event. Click continue. Now it's going to ask me to connect my Google Sheet account. So essentially, if you haven't done so already, you basically just sign into your Google account that you've used to create that sheet. I already have a bunch in here, so I'm going to connect my account that's already created and then hit continue. Okay, now it's going to ask me, what spreadsheet should I use? So I'm going to select the spreadsheet that I want to use, and it's this demonstration Zapier sheet. So I select the demonstration Zapier sheet, and in the worksheet, it's sheet 1. And if you notice over here, it says sheet 1 and sheet 2. So sheet 1 is the sheet that I want to use as the example here. I'll explain why I created sheet number 2 in a moment, but sheet number 1 is where I want to connect everything. So I'm going to hit continue here. Okay, so now it's asking me to test out the trigger. So what it wants to do is it wants to take a look at that Google Sheet and pull in an example so that we know that this trigger is set up correctly. So before doing that, if you notice, the sheet is still blank. So let's go and add some data. So in my sheet number 2 down here, I have some sample data that I'm going to use. And the reason why I created a sheet number 2 is Google Sheets are very fast. And as you see up top here, it says last edit was made 11 minutes ago. As you type and as you add new data to the sheet, it is saving as you go. So when you are setting up this automation, the best practice is to have a separate sheet that you're copying and pasting into your main automation sheet. If you don't do that, Google actually saves and sends requests over quicker than a human can type. So a lot of times what will happen is people will be typing and they'll be adding, first name, last name, and then by the time they get to the third column, Google has already saved the sheet and sent that information, which is incomplete, over in your automation. So to avoid that, we work in a separate sheet and then copy and paste all at once. So as an example, I'm going to highlight this entire row. I'm going to copy. I'm going to move over to sheet 1 and I'm going to paste it in. Perfect. And as you see up the top, it says last edit was seconds ago. So immediately, Google knows that I made some changes because I pasted that row in. So now with our Zapier connection, I'm going to hit test trigger. And we'll test the trigger again. They couldn't find a spreadsheet row. So hopefully this time it will find one, and it did. Perfect. All right, so now it found one spreadsheet row, which is the information that I added. So I'm going to hit continue here. All right, so now we know that the Google Sheet is set up. The second thing that we want to do is now connect IgnitePOST. So for the action, come in here and you type IgnitePOST, all one word. I found our IgnitePOST app. So the event that we want to do is obviously we want to create a handwritten card. So I'm going to add that as the event and then hit continue. And then it asks me to connect an IgnitePOST account. So I have an IgnitePOST account here already connected. So I'm going to use my account that is already here. I'll just use this one as an example. If you haven't connected an account yet, then what I would suggest doing is at IgnitePOST. If you jump back to your IgnitePOST dashboard, you go down to where it says API keys. You see I have a number of API keys here, but essentially what you need to do is hit create API key. You can name it something interesting like Zapier key, and then hit create key. And that is what you use to connect your Zapier account. I'm not going to do that right now because I have a bunch of accounts already connected. So But I just wanted to mention that just in case you need to figure out where that is. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Zapier. I'm going to hit continue. And the first thing it's going to ask me is, what letter template do you want to trigger when these new rows get added to the Google Sheet? So if I click here, it will pull up a list of the letter templates that I have in my account. And if you remember, I named it the review request example template. So I click on that, and then it will pull in and add the information that by default I had already set up. So the letter message and everything has already been pulled in, but what we want to do is personalize this, right? So we don't just want this to say hi first name, we actually want to use the person's first name. So let's go ahead and delete that area of the message. And then if you notice down here, it says insert data. I can actually click on show all options, and this will show me all of the different columns from the spreadsheet that I can pull in. So let's go and find first name. I click on it, and now it added that variable here. So this will say, hi Greg, thought you might check out some of our recent case studies and testimonials, etc. So the message looks good, I'm happy with that. Same thing with the sender name. So sender name and address, this is the information that's going to be used on the outside of the envelope as the return address. So all of the default values that I had set up got pulled in. But if you notice, the recipient name and the recipient address has not been pulled in because we don't know what it is yet. So let's go ahead and fill that in. So if you click on recipient name, I'm going to insert this information. So I'm going to insert first name, and then I'm going to hit space, and I'm going to insert last name. So that's the recipient name. The company name, same thing. I'm going to insert the company name if it exists. Address 1, I'm going to also insert address 2. And then I'm going to do the same thing for city, state, and zip. So I'm going to insert city in the city field. I'm going to insert state in the recipient state field. And I'm going to insert zip in the zip field. Zip code, there we go. So now, if you look, all of the fields are going to be filled out correctly with the information from the spreadsheet that we're going to be pulling in. So I'm going to hit continue here. And it will actually show you the example using that test data that I pasted into that first row in the Google Sheet. It's going to show you what would actually pull in. So it's going to say, hi, Greg. And I'm just going to eyeball this and make sure that the information is correct. So address 1 and 2 look good. City, state look good. The recipient name is correctly being pulled in. So this looks great. Now, if you want to, you can hit test action. And if I click that, it will send a test request, and it will confirm and let us know that the request is successful, which it was. So it says a card was sent to IgnitePOST in about 2 seconds. So when you do this, the email address that's connected with your account will actually get an email, which is a preview of exactly what the note would look like. So you'll get the message with the handwriting as well as the card front so that you can see exactly what it will look like when you trigger and send these notes. So with that, everything is set there. So there's 2 things now that you need to do to turn this on and start using it. Number 1, where it says publish Zap, you need to click on that and say publish and turn on the Zap. That will turn everything on. Now, anytime you copy and paste a new row into your sheet, immediately, as soon as a new row is added, a new handwritten card will be created and an order will be created in our system. So the Zap is on, and then the second thing that you need to do is email the IgnitePOST team and tell us to turn on that key that you used. So if you notice, there's this column here called mode, and it says live, and there's a checkbox which is unchecked. So by default, when we create your API key and you connect Zapier, all of our keys are in test mode by default, which means they won't actually trigger and send handwritten cards. We do this so that you can actually set up the integration and test it and just kind of work all the kinks out first. After you are your automation is set up and you're confident that everything has worked out, Then email our team, email support@ignitepost.com and say, my automation is set, we're ready to go, please turn my key on, at which time we will turn your API key into live mode. And then from there, any order that comes in, so anytime you copy and paste into your spreadsheet, a new handwritten note order will be created in your account, and we will take care of everything from there. So we'll write it, fulfill it, and send it for you. So with that, that is the quick overview of how to create an automation using Zapier and a Google spreadsheet. If you have any questions, reach out and let us know. Support@ignitepost.com is the best way to get any question that you have answered. And we hope that this automation makes your life easier and just saves you a ton of time. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.